Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and a happy Thanksgiving as we are going into Hanukkah, a very special Yom Tif of light, of holiday of light. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a happy Hanukkah. This Shabbos is Parshat Vayeishev, and so the second half of the book of Genesis, it's all about dreams. You have the dreams of Jacob starts dreaming about the Sulav Musav Arza Shemaima, from the ladder which is going up to heaven. And then you have Joseph's two dreams about his family bowing down to him, sheaves of wheat in the field and stars in the sky. And then Joseph goes to prison. And then you have in those two dreams the butler and the baker's dreams. And then afterwards you have the dreams of Paro about the 7 good years and the 7 bad years. And so in this week's Parsha, at the end of it, we see the story of the dreams of the butler and the baker. And the butler and the baker, their dreams are almost identical. You have Joseph goes to prison for a false charge of rape. He did nothing but didn't allow himself to be seduced, and was falsely accused, but was put into prison. And ultimately, the plan, in order for him to become the viceroy of Egypt, had to go through that process. But in prison, he meets over there the butler and the baker. And the butler and the baker tell him they both had similar dreams. The butler's dream was, in my dream, I saw 3 vines of grapes in which I squeezed into a cup of wine. And the baker says, in my dream, I had 3 I had 3 baskets of bread on my head, and there was birds eating out of it. And so they're both almost exactly the same. Each of them have 3. Each of them are what their trade was. And so what Joseph tells him is that the butler, that in 3 days, Pharaoh is going to pardon you, and you're going to be back to be the chief butler and back to your job. And to the baker, he says, that in 3 days, you're going to be hung, and the birds will eat from your flesh. And so the obvious question is why? What is the difference between these 2 dreams? And so there's an interesting story by the Dubner Maggid, who says a story of a painting. He teaches us a story based on this. There was once a king who commissioned an artist to do a beautiful painting, and this painting had exactly this. It was a baker with bread on his head, baskets of bread on his head, and it looked so real that birds were actually flying into this painting because to get bread off of this head of this baker. And so the king said, if anyone can find fault in this painting, I'm going to give them a reward. And everyone came and said, this is the most magnificent painting. It looks so real. Like it used to be in the Fontainebleau, when they used to have that wall there, that birds would fly into the into the wall because it looked so real. And so it looked so real that nobody could find fault with it until one old man comes and he finds fault, and the king gives it a reward. And he realizes that what? He says, if this guy looks so real, the birds wouldn't eat from him. Because if he was real, the birds would be afraid to attack his head, his bread, which is on his head, because he'd be constantly moving. And so what he's basically saying is that the reality is that this person must not be alive because the birds are eating from the bread of his head. And so what it teaches us is, this is what Joseph saw. He saw the difference. What the butler was doing was actually doing action. And so he was taking grapes and he was squeezing them. And so he saw that you are going to again regain your status and become the butler again for the king. But for the baker, he wasn't doing anything. He was just having bread on his head that was ultimately being eaten from. And so there was no action involved. And so we see the power of action versus just passiveness. And it's interesting because this Shabbos is Shabbos before Hanukkah and Shabbos of Thanksgiving. And so thanks is no thanks without giving. We talk about Thanksgiving, we talk about being thankful, being thankful, being thankful. But the reality is that Thanksgiving represents being thankful because we can give. By giving, it's the best way to show thanks. Just to say thank you, thank you, thank you, that's wonderful. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, it's important to have thanks for the people around us and for everything that God gave us and the family gave us. But how do we do that? We do that by giving. We show that we're really truly thankful by thanksgiving, by giving. And so also this Shabbos is Shabbos before Hanukkah. How do we do about Hanukkah? Hanukkah is all about light. is all about bringing the light to others. And that is what we do. We put the menorah by the window or by the door in order to bring light to others, not just to bring our own eternal light. And so as we go into the Shabbos Chanukah, Shabbos of Thanksgiving, let's give a second push to ourselves as we go into these special days to make sure that we are active and we are giving and we are part of the community and we are bringing light to others. And that is truly how we stay alive and continue to give thanks. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.